Right. Hello, everybody. My name's Dan, owner and founder of Take Your Shot, the best video and photo production company on the planet. And yeah, normally I'm hiding behind the camera at this point right now, but today we are in front of it because the guy to my left has got a bit of a crazy story to tell.
It is a crazy one, right? I'm just laughing at how nervous you are this side of the camera.
It's not comfortable for me right now.
This is called payback.
It is not payback. You love it. But yeah, I have volunteered to be in front of the camera to tell the story because that's how worth it is. So you need to carry on watching. So I think just be like Joe Rogan. He just goes straight in, doesn't he?
God, that's putting pressure on us, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right?
best podcast in the world. Let's aim high. So introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about
Okay,
you.
so for those of you who don't know, my name's D. I'm a coach at Team D Fit, online coach. I've been for many years. I guess a little bit of a background about me and who I am. So my background is predominantly rugby, first and foremost. I'm a huge rugby fan and I'm a rugby player. And then I developed that rugby into my later life, into going into competing as a bodybuilder. And then towards the end of my career as a rugby player and bodybuilder, I wanted to lengthen it as much as I could. So I got heavily into my nutrition, completed my qualifications in nutrition, and then developed that into helping others when I could no longer chase the egg and was too old. So I wanted to pass back some of that knowledge to help others people with their journeys through fitness and body transformations. I've been doing that for now about 5 years now. I've worked with thousands of online clients all over the UK and abroad to get them in the best shape of their lives. And I love doing it because it's really rewarding.
So why are we? So normally I film you. I'm behind the camera, like we said, hiding.
Yeah.
But today there's probably a special reason why we're here. What is the main catalyst for us having a conversation like this today?
Okay, so just over 90 days ago, I had a heart attack. I suppose that's probably the easiest way to put it. It's a little bit like putting a plaster off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quick, get it done. It's difficult for me to talk about. I'm not going to lie. Something quite personal, something quite scary, especially when we go through how it happened. And more so completely out of the blue. It took me by surprise. I know when I kind of shared it with you, you were a bit like, fuck, you?
I was really surprised. What? You know when you think you haven't heard something properly?
Yeah.
It's like, huh?
It's funny, when I share the story with people, the first thing people say is like, hang on, you're like super healthy. You don't smoke,
Yeah.
you don't drink. Like, what? If you've had a heart attack, I'm basically fucked. Do you know what I mean?
That's
kind of
literally what I thought.
Peaking's the immediate kind of reaction is that. But I'm still kind of processing it in my mind and trying to get through the journey. And this, I guess this experience is more for a healing process for me. It's for me to vocalize it, share it, and also hopefully my experience of it may well resonate with some people out there. And I guess that's why I'm doing it, to help me and maybe help others as well.
So let's start from the beginning, I suppose. What happened?
Okay, so let's rewind back just over 90 days. I'd gone out to Dubai and I was there for about 5-6 days. And on the day before I was supposed to fly home, actually due to fly home, I'd gone out for dinner with some friends of mine and we'd got to the restaurant. It was about 20 or so minutes away from the hotel that we were staying at. And we'd got in the lift because Dubai, all the restaurants are like halfway up in the sky. And I remember it being like on the 20th floor or whatever. We got into the lift, and just as the lift doors closed, like in front of me, I remember it really vividly. Like I had a shudder, like a shiver through my body. What? It was super weird. It was like, someone just walked over your grave.
Yeah.
It was like, oh. And it just felt weird. Like I remember it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got up to the floor of our restaurant, and the doors opened, and we walked out, and the hostess kind of like acknowledged us and took us to our table. And I remember my friends and I sitting down at the table.
So you feel okay at this point, apart from that shudder?
Fine. That's all that I noticed. But then all of a sudden I started feeling really cold and like shivery. And I said to my two friends, I was like, is it cold in here? Because obviously there's aircon everywhere in Dubai.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know it sounds weird, you're in the desert, but you can feel
No,
cold, right?
When we were there, I had the same thing in the hotel.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's a bit cold. So I was like, is it cold? And they're like, no, it's not cold. Anyway, we just sat down, and I swear, like literally my ass had just touched the seat and the menus had just arrived. And I just stood up, I was like, guys, I'm going home. I just don't feel right. And they were like, we just got here. And I was like, nah, do you know what? I just don't feel right. Something's not right. So I at that point, just literally got up and left them to it. I was like, guys, I'm going to head back to the hotel. You guys crack on. I'll see you in the morning. And I got in the lift, went back down, got in a taxi, and went straight back to the hotel.
So what were you thinking at that point?
At this point, I don't know, I just felt super weird. And something that well, people out there won't know is I've suffered with anxiety. Actually, not a lot of my friends don't even know. I've suffered with anxiety all my life.
Yeah.
And I've had like panic attack and anxiety attacks. And it's something that I've dealt with. Actually, I've been okay with because I kind of knew how to handle it. I know how to breathe myself out of it. I know how to sort of take myself away from environments, calm myself down. And I've done things to help myself in the process. And I guess at that point in the taxi journey home, I felt like it was just another anxiety attack coming on.
Yeah, because my question was then, like, if you felt, why didn't you want to be surrounded by people rather than be on your own just in case something happened?
It's weird because whenever I've had an anxiety attack in the past, I don't know whether it's through embarrassment or whether it's just a control thing. I feel better on my own in an environment that I can control everything. I suppose it comes down to...
Yeah, if you thought it was that kind of makes sense, yeah. But that was my initial thought when you first said you went up and left. I was like, no, surely you want to be around others just in case. But if you thought it was that, that makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, I got back to the hotel and I went straight to my bedroom or hotel room, and it's now about 9 p.m. And I remember sort of being agitated, pacing around the room. My kind of heart was racing. In hindsight now, you kind of look at all the symptoms, you think, well, it's obviously a fucking heart attack, right? But at the moment, it was all the same symptoms as a panic attack or an anxiety attack. So I kind of was just like going through the motions, trying to calm myself down. It sounds weird, but I normally run a tap. And it sounds stupid, but I'll get in the bath when it's empty.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it's because I'm surrounded by this kind of like cocoon space or whatever, but it kind of calms me down. And then I just run the tap at the end of the bath and listen to the water.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that works for it, and that's like a thing, but for me it works.
I use that to sleep. That kind of sound to sleep. So
I don't know whether it's just focusing on something and then that allows me to calm my mind down, but it's always worked. Did it fucking work? No. Nowhere near it. I was getting worse.
Did you have like chest pains at this point?
No. Do you know what? I can't remember, if I'm honest.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And I wasn't, the last thing I would think of is it anything to do with my heart?
Yeah.
And I guess a key point that I should probably mention is a week before I went out to Dubai, so about 10 days prior to this incident, I say incident, my heart attack, I had a full medical. Through my private medical, what I call my MOT.
Yeah.
And it's all clear. You know, I have no cholesterol issues, no blood pressure issues.
That's mad.
Perfectly healthy. You know, in fact, when I had my blood pressure done, the nurse actually said you got blood pressure of a 20-year-old. And I was like, wow, that's like mega. You know what I mean? I didn't have any concerns. The last thing in my mind...
After that, you wouldn't think... A week earlier, you've been told it's fine. You wouldn't be thinking it, would you?
Exactly. You wouldn't be thinking that's going to happen, right? So I thought, fine, great. I'm going to be in a position where I'm healthy. I've got nothing to worry about. So it must be just a panic attack. So I kind of went through the motions of I went outside, I couldn't calm myself down. And I remember about 11 p.m, my Apple Watch started going crazy. Notifications. Oh. And I thought, I think it's about 11:30. And this is going to sound really stupid. The room, I had all the lights off in the room to try and keep it cool and dark. And
that makes sense.
And I couldn't read what it said on the Apple Watch. So I took a picture of it with my phone. Right. And this is going to show my age with the view of like zooming in to read what it says. But I never actually read what it said. I remember taking the picture, then taking my watch off and like launching it across the room. And it wasn't until the next day when I viewed the images, I noticed that it actually said, you know, potential, I can't remember what it said now.
The ECG going off.
Yeah, it was like, please, and it had a button to call the emergency services, but it was obviously too late by then because the heart attack had already happened. So I'm in the room now. I've launched my watch across the room and I'm still trying to calm myself down. And I couldn't rest. I was like hugging the pillow. I was under the duvet. I was over the duvet. I was
Were you like feeling worse, or was it getting worse, or you just still felt?
I just kind of felt agitated. I just couldn't calm myself down. Anyway, this happened all through the night. And come the morning, because the friends I was away with were in the next room, and they sort of messaged me about 8:30, I think 8:30, saying, "Are you coming down to breakfast?" And I think I text them saying, "Sorry, I'm not going to come down to breakfast. I'm not hungry." And I think they text me back. This is now the day that we're supposed to be flying home, right? We're checking out. Oh, okay. So they text me back and said, like, "No, you can fucking stay in your room if you've got COVID or something. We don't want to be anywhere near you." And I was like, "I haven't got COVID. I'm cool. I'm not hungry. Crack on."
They were probably thinking though, like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they just assumed I'd have.
Yeah, they never would have guessed that.
Yeah, like who would think that? So at this point, I've not had dinner. I've not had breakfast. They then text me and said, "Look, we've had breakfast. We're going to head out for the day." I think they said they were going to the pool or whatever. So they'd gone off. I then basically about 10:30 in the morning, I thought, you know what, I've got to get out of the room.
Yeah.
Got to do something. So I thought, you know what, there's a spa downstairs in the hotel. Might as well take advantage of the facilities. Maybe that will help me calm down. So I remember putting my shorts on, my dressing gown on, and went downstairs. And I went down to the reception, like ground floor area, and I went into the spa. And it's like a long corridor as you walk down the spa with like rose petals. And
Nice.
it's really nice, really posh spa. Walked to the end, signed in, and then I walked round towards the right. And then you walk down this another long kind of corridor with like lanterns and stuff. And at the end, there's 3 doors. And the door in front of me was like an ice room, like a snow room, like an ice room. And then to the right was a door for a steam room. And to the left was an archway, which opened up into a hammam, like jacuzzi area.
Yeah.
And I remember standing there vividly thinking to myself, which one am I going to go in? And the next thing I remember, I was facing the ceiling.
Oh, shit.
Like, I don't know what happened. I was just literally lying on the floor, and all I remember is my head was banging, and I was looking at the ceiling, and I couldn't see straight. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I was spun out, instant. Like, 1 second I'm looking, deciding where to go, and next minute I'm on the floor.
Was anyone around?
Nobody.
Oh, God.
So I remember at that point, I was facing the ceiling, and I remember rolling over onto my chest. I don't know what made me, like, autopilot, roll over into, like, onto my front. And I remember rolling over onto my front and thinking, God, the back of my head's banging, like excruciating pain.
It's like a hard floor you've landed on as well.
Yeah. But what had happened had I smacked my head on the wall on the way down.
Oh, God.
I didn't know this at the time.
Yeah.
And I kind of rolled onto my front, and then I must have passed out again, because the next thing I remember was somebody touching my side, and it made me jump. And I kind of was like, what the fuck's happened? Like, what's going on? Why is this guy touching me? And he was like, sir, are you okay? Are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm fucking not. I don't know what just happened. There was blood everywhere. I split the back of my head. And I didn't know what happened. He said, like, we've been trying to wake you for a couple of minutes, like you were unconscious, but don't worry, the ambulance is coming. So at this point, I'm now lying on the floor, don't know what's happened. My head's banging. I can't really see properly. I'm panicking, thinking, am I blind? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't know what the hell's happened. So
how long did you been lying on the floor? Did you find out after?
Well, the guy said it'd be about 2 or 3 minutes, but to me, it's instant. Like,
So you've been out.
a second ago, I stood up, then I was on the floor, and then I'm being touched. But apparently, I was unconscious for a period of time. So, yeah, as you can imagine, I was pretty spun out. And next thing I know, the ambulances turned up, and they were like really quick. Like, they were there instantly, put me on this kind of like bed thing, wheeled me out through this hotel, and then I was in the back of an ambulance. And at this point now, they're all wiring me up, and it was 2 Indian female paramedics.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that, not that there's any issue with them being Indian or female, is obviously I speak Indian, so I can understand what they were saying.
Oh, so they thought you couldn't understand.
I don't know whether they thought I could or not, but they were communicating between themselves in Hindi. And one of them said to the other, while she was wiring me up and they'd connected me all up, and she said, radio ahead and let them know that this gentleman is having a cardiac arrest. And I kind of was lying in this ambulance looking up, and I was like, did I just hear that right? And she said, wait. So she basically told her to radio ahead and let them know he's having a heart attack. So I was like, oh shit. And I then started arguing with her. I was like, whoa, no. You're like misdiagnosing me here. There's no fucking way I'm having a heart attack. And she said, no, sir, calm down. You're having a heart attack. It's very serious. We need to have a cardiologist on standby, and you may need to go directly into surgery. And at this point, I was like, there's no fucking way I'm having a heart attack. And I was arguing with her. Like 100% arguing with her about whether I'm having a heart attack or not. And it was like a couple of, like, probably only a couple of seconds of an exchange between us where she was like, no, just please stay calm. And I was like, I'm not having a heart attack. I'm not having a heart attack. And then I was like, oh, I'm having a heart attack. Burst into tears, like genuinely burst into tears, thinking, oh shit.
And was that the realization, or you actually could feel like, oh God, I'm having a heart attack?
Yeah, and it was sweet because she'd said you're having a heart attack, and at that point I'd given in to accepting that maybe I am. Maybe she's right. You know, like what do I know? Maybe she actually knows what she's doing, right? I could then feel like an elephant sat on my chest.
Whoa!
And it genuinely felt like a huge weight on my chest. And many people have asked me, like, what does it feel like? What does it feel like? Genuinely, it just felt like there was no pain. It just felt like there was a really heavy weight on my chest.
Yeah, so that's why I asked earlier, did you have chest pain? That's what I'd imagine straight away you'd get.
Even now, like, when I think about it, it's like, that's a pretty big thing, like a heart attack. And I didn't
You just felt
feel
like
any
pressure.
pain. Yeah, didn't have like a headache or pain, or it just felt like there was a big weight on my chest. And I was like, obviously, like, I felt like on edge. Anyway, this journey must have only been about 4 or 5 minutes.
So you remember, you're conscious, you remember all of this.
Completely conscious. And now I'm like super alert, like what the hell's going on? I'm in a foreign country. No one knows what's going on. And I mean, in hindsight, I was probably lucky I was in Dubai because I'd probably still be waiting around ambulance in the UK. Nothing against the NHS, but you know what I mean? It's just like, it's pretty mental.
It's the reality these days, yeah.
So we've now arrived at the hospital. The back door's open. I'm wheeled out, looking up at the beautiful sunshine in Dubai, and then straight into this building at the hospital. So as we got into the hospital, we've gone straight into this room, and almost immediately I'm like surrounded by people. And that guy's come out, he started shaving my arm. It actually was weird because he came out, this poor guy came out with his clippers to come and shave my arm. And it was like, his only job is to shave people's arms or when they're ready to like, you know, put things into people's arms.
Yeah.
And he came out, and obviously I clip and trim my body anyway. Yeah. And he came out like really super excited with his clippers, and my arm was already shaved. And he was like, has somebody already shaved his arm?
He didn't get paid that day because of you.
He's like, has somebody already shaved it?
Oh, it's another bodybuilder. They're always shaved.
No, I've already shaved my arm. And he was like, oh, and he looked really like disappointed, putting his clippers back in his bag and walking out of the room. So sorry to the guy that didn't get to shave my arm. I'm sorry if you didn't get paid that day. And I remember this guy coming, injected something in my shoulder. I was like, fuck, that really hurt. I don't know what it was, but it was super painful. Anyway, there's all this chaos going on. Can you sign these papers? Can you do this? And I'm like, what's going on? Like, sign some disclaimer thing. And I was like, I don't know what's going on.
As if you have to do that as you're having a heart attack.
Honestly, it was like I was proper like scared. Like,
yeah, that's great. I never even thought about that.
And I'm like, I know it sounds stupid. I'm a grown ass man. I'd like to consider myself a bit of an alpha, really. But mate, I was scared shitless. Yeah. That was another level of like, what happens now? And I'm not gonna lie. I got to admit, at this point, I just thought, what's gonna happen next is I'm gonna be put to sleep, and that's it. I'm dead. Like, that's the end. This is where it ends now.
That's deep.
And I'm genuine. Like, I was lying in that bed and I was actually okay about it. And I remember sitting there thinking, that's it. This is how I'm going to die. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, it's making me a bit emotional. But I was all right about it. And it was weird. I kind of like got to a point where I thought, if this is how I'm going to go, then this is how I'm going to go. And I can't control it, you know? Yeah. And there's no part I can play in whether I live or not. It's now down to all these people that are around me in that room. They're the ones with the experience. They're the ones with the knowledge, the skills, and the tools to be able to just help me. And what can I do? So I kind of just had this like moment where I was like, that's it, you know? And I'm in a different country. I'm having a heart attack. I can't control anything anymore. And I'm a huge control freak. I like to try and be in control of the variables around me, because then obviously I'm the one that's deciding things. But in that moment, I had no control.
Right.
So the surgeon was there, and I remember him. He kind of came in, and he was like full of life, huge ego, and he had like a situation where he put his arm on my arm, and he was like, "This is going to be good." And I was like, "What?" like he was like just about to take part in some activity that he loves doing. I'm sure he does love to do it, but he came in and he said, "Well, yeah, I hope he did." But he walked in and he was like, he put his arm, he goes, "This is going to be good." And then he said to me, "You're super lucky." I was like, "I don't feel too lucky right now." Do you know what I mean? Lying here, strapped up with a thing in my arm. And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm the CEO of Saudi German Hospital," which was the hospital I was in. Yeah. I'm also the head of cardiology for the whole of the UAE. And I was only here for a board meeting. And when your paramedic radioed through saying we need a cardiologist to be on standby, I said, "You know what? I'll take this one. Don't call somebody in. I'll take this one." I was like, wow, okay. Meant to be, I guess.
You got the Michael Jordan of heart surgery?
Pretty much, man. I had the goat of heart surgery looking after me. So anyway, he started setting up, and I thought, that's it. They're going to put me to sleep, and that's the end of it. And he was like, no. You're going to be awake. I was like, what? You're going to operate on my heart while I'm wide awake? He said, yeah, you're going to help me. And I was like, mate, I've never done this before. So how am I going to help you? But seriously, he was like, you're going to help me. Like, what? How am I going to help?
Did that make you feel worse? I'd be terrified. I would already be terrified, but if they told me that, I'd be off the scale.
Do you know what?
Frightened.
it was like, I don't want to say I don't remember, but it was so quick.
Yeah.
And there were so many things going through my head at that moment. Like, I felt like I was on Grey's Anatomy. There was a massive, like, 2 TVs to my left here. There's a guy sticking something in my arm. Obviously, they numbed the arm first and everything. And then it's like putting these cameras and things in, like wires through me. And next thing I know, he's ready to start. And the inside of my heart, or the inside of my body, was on these screens. I'm like, what's going on with it? Like,
So you were not even sedated or anything at this point?
I'm wide awake, mate.
What the?
And I couldn't feel any pain, but I could definitely feel him tugging away at my heart. I could feel like things going on inside my chest, and I was like, "This is not normal, right?"
You know that saying, tugging on your heartstrings? Like
literally, and it was just super weird.
What the-
But you know what distracted me? Because I had this thing. I was like, I don't want to watch this. That's the inside of my heart. No one should see that, right? He was really vocal, and he was there when he was working away, like he was playing a PlayStation, like with these things and tools, watching the screen, and then he's there like, oh yeah, this is really good. Oh yeah, I'm amazing. Oh yeah, do that one to 4.5 and all these terminal words. I have no idea what he was talking about, but he was like bigging himself up. He was there like, man, this is really good, and yeah, that's good. Give me another 2.5. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Now on to the next one, and I'm there like, wow. This guy, like, seriously, like, he backs himself, right? He thinks he's the man. And at the time, I felt like, fucking hell, man, you love yourself, dude. But actually, almost immediately, I was like, do you know what? This guy literally has my heart in his hands.
Yeah.
I want him to be mega confident. I don't want him to be like, oh, I wonder if that's all right. You know what I mean?
It is weird, but at least you're hearing him say positive, good things.
Yeah. And that, along with, this is going to be good, kind of reassured me. And I was just like, okay about it. Not that I could change anything, right? I'm like, do you know what? No, this is not really that good for me. I've got some plans. So can we do this another time? I didn't have a choice. I was there. It was going to happen. This shit was happening. So
That's such a mad story.
he went through. He did it all. And mate, I had 5 stents. 5 stents.
All done for your arm?
All through my arm, yeah. Normally they would go either through your arm or through the inside of your groin. But he said because my arteries are so clear, normally when people have a heart attack, they've got blockages. Mm-hmm. And what had actually happened to mine, I'd actually had a catastrophic collapse of the 2 arteries, the main arteries around my heart. And they had to put 3 stents, which are essentially balloons that go in to open up your arteries to be able to allow blood flow to go through back again. And normally it's blockages, so they have to go in via 2 areas or more to get to them. But because I have no blockages, no cholesterol issues, and I have really whenever I go for blood tests, they're like, oh, look at these veins. Yeah. They love my veins because they've got big, and unfortunately, fortunately, he was able to go through just my arm. He didn't have to go through my groin as well. So I only had the one site. And he could get to the area really quickly because there was no blockages and it was really super quick. So he got it all done. He said that was another thing that's kind of pretty much saved your life because I was able to get in there super quick.
And do you know how long you were in there for?
I want to say like not that long, but I think I was in surgery for around 45 minutes to an hour.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, not that long, right?
I know nothing about surgery, but you picture in your head like massive open heart surgery, 8 hours. It's crazy what they can do.
It's weird, like, you watch like Grey's Anatomy,
Yeah.
you watch like Casualty, you watch these programs and you see all this terminology and you sit there thinking, yeah, I know what they're talking about. Yeah, I've watched enough. I know what it is, mate. I had no fucking clue.
You probably didn't want to know.
I didn't want to know.
Yeah.
I wanted this guy to know, and he reassured me, like super reassured me. So anyway, the surgery happens. I then get wheeled down onto ICU, and I was there for 5 days. And bearing in mind, I'm supposed to be flying home that afternoon.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't have my phone. I don't have anything with me because
Where's
it's all
that, in your hotel?
In my hotel, right?
Oh shit.
So, and I'm not checked out. So they've sent someone into the room to collect all my stuff and put it into storage.
Have you missed the flight at this point?
Well, I didn't know what sort of time it was, but I was going to miss the flight because there's no way I was going to catch a flight, right?
What
In ICU.
about your friends? Do they know?
They knew. They'd found out from the hotel that what happened. So they were on their way to the hospital to try and check on me as such to make sure I was okay. They wouldn't let them into the ICU. So there was all sorts of chaos going on. I couldn't communicate with anyone back home. They brought my phone to me. So I think it was like a good 4 or 5 hours after my surgery. And there's a photo and I'll share it with you, which I did. I fucking hate her for this, but a friend of mine, she took a picture of me lying there, and honestly, mate, I look fucked.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just the surgery. They just got it sent about 3 or 4 hours after surgery, and I don't know whether I want to share this picture, but I look like in a shit state.
You look like you just had a heart attack, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and she sent me that picture like a month after, and said, "Oh, I was going for my phone, I found this." I was like, "Shit, thanks, mate."
You didn't realise you looked like that.
But anyway, I mean, it happened. I got through it, and then I was in ICU for 5 days. I was stranded in Dubai. One of my closest friends, and I owe this guy and his wife a lot. They kind of essentially rescued me because I was in ICU, and then I couldn't fly home. Couldn't even have a fit to fly certificate. I had nowhere to go. I was stranded there, and they came and picked me up. And their names are James and Maria Knight, and I pretty much owe them everything because they came and picked me up from the hotel. I keep saying hotel. I mean, it looked like
You wish it was a hotel.
but it was a hospital, and they picked me up and they took me to their home, and I stayed with them, and they looked after me. I was there for, I think, altogether about 10 or 12 days before my insurance company could fly out a doctor to repatriate me home. And he came out and he flew home with me all the way home.
Is that what you have to do?
Yeah. Mate, I was sat next to Fran Lampard and his wife on the way home because obviously the World Cup was going on, right? And he must have been out for the evening game. It was the evening game. I can't remember which one it was the night before, so whether he was out there commentating or I don't know. But they were on the flight home. They were next to me because I flew home business class, British Airways, because you have to have a bed.
Yeah, space.
And they have to sort of check your obs every hour all the way back. So he stayed with me the whole way back. And there's me helping Frank Lampard's wife to put a case in. And he's like, "Oh no, mate, you just had a heart attack. You're supposed to be chilling." And I was like, "Mate, I feel fine." I felt fine. The first few days after the surgery, when I got out, I was like, it was more in my mind.
Yeah.
Like,
if I'm too strenuous, what? Yeah.
But mate, in a couple of days, I was like fucking going insane. So I was out doing steps.
What? Well, it doesn't surprise me actually knowing you.
I was out walking around like the village that my friend lives in, doing steps, and like up in the morning, getting into my routine. 'Cause I'm a creature of like habit. I need my routine. So I was kind of like just going through my normal process.
So you've just had a heart attack, and 2 days after you'd get your steps in still.
I think I started on 2,500 steps a day, and they were really, really like,
Anything's impressive at that point, mate.
careful. And then I got up. By the time I flew home, I was up to sort of 10,000 steps a day.
What was the
Genuinely,
advice?
I had nothing else to do.
Well, yeah, true. But what should you have been doing that? What was the advice from the professionals? Bed rest.
Take it easy. Take a couple of months off the gym. This and the other. I had to think about it. When can I get back in the gym? When can I get back in the gym?
And did they give you like long-term prognosis? Is this something? Like, what did they actually tell you? You've had surgery, and then
they basically the surgeon was like, "Mate, you look brand new now."
was he?
So I was like, "Great," but he said you just got to take it easy. So when you get back, you need to take at least a month off the gym. Nothing strenuous above the head. All I could think about is my clients, because my check-in day for my clients was like the Saturday. So
What day was this actually? We haven't even
happened
got
on
that.
Monday. The
Happened on
heart
Monday.
attack happened on the Monday. Dinner was Sunday. The dinner that I was supposed to go.
Yeah.
That I missed. At least I got out of pain, I guess. Monday was the heart attack, right? Surgery. In ICU. I got to James and Maria's house my friend's house is on I think it was Friday afternoon or Saturday afternoon.
Oh, so you stayed in the hospital like all week?
Yeah. I was in ICU there. And the only thing I could think of, and this sounds really stupid, is I was worried about my client check-ins, because my clients check in at the weekend.
They didn't know anything had happened.
No. And how do I tell my clients that I've had a heart attack?
Yeah, that's a good point actually.
So I did exactly what I thought was the right thing. I didn't tell anyone.
I already knew you were going to say that.
I didn't tell anyone because I didn't know what to do. So I thought, I don't want to. How? Like, do I explain that? And I know it's going to sound really stupid, but I hate letting people down. Like, full stop. Anyone in my life, I've always tried to do the right thing by everyone else. And I've always put myself last.
Yeah.
And that's always worked for me. So I thought, do you know what? Brave face on.
Did the check-ins.
Do the check-ins. So I did all my client check-ins there at my friend James's house.
And were you feeling like absolute shit? Right. Like what was?
I just felt tired, I guess. That's the only thing. I felt proper exhausted. Like, genuinely exhausted. Like I just ran a marathon. Do you know the funny thing is, what did we do the week before I went to Dubai?
What did we do? Oh, climb a mountain.
We climbed Mount Penifan, didn't we?
Yeah.
And what I
Did
did
you blaming me?
No, what had happened the week before that?
You did the same mountain again, didn't you?
So I'd done the Mount Penifan climb 2 weekends in a row, which is fucking brutal.
Yeah.
Right? And the weather was horrific. Imagine if I collapsed on that mountain.
Oh my God, mate.
Imagine if I'd had that heart
I
attack.
don't even want to think about
You'd have
that.
had to carry me, fireman's grip, down.
I couldn't even carry myself.
But
I was
genuinely,
struggling.
I was sat in the bike because obviously, mate, I had a lot of time on my hands.
Oh, yeah, that's
I'm
mad.
stuck there stranded. Most days I was just on my own because obviously James and we're going to work.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
I didn't want to be like, I felt super like I was imposing on them. Like, they were like my saviors there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I hate being my worst thing is being a burden on someone. And I felt like I'm in their house and environment. They've had to go out of their way to
They wouldn't have minded.
look after me. And I know they wouldn't. And it's
But I know what
exactly
you're
what I would
saying.
have done.
I
But
know
in
what
my
you're saying.
mind, I'm like, just trying to stay out of their way. So that's why I was going out doing steps and stuff. Because I get out of their way and getting onto things. But mate, I had a lot of time to think about shit. And I was thinking, fuck, imagine if I'd collapsed on that mountain. Maybe the mountain climber did it. All these things are going through your head.
Oh, you could be thinking of everything.
And
Sorry, to go back to that, did they give you any inclination of why you had a heart attack at that point?
so at that point, because obviously my first question was, how the fuck have I
Yeah.
how have I had a heart attack? Considering I'm super healthy, I don't smoke, I don't drink. I'm a nutrition coach. I know what I'm doing with regards to food and how to look after myself. And he said, look, the two things or three things that went against you. Number one, that you're a man. I was like, oh, great. Thanks.
Not a lot you could do about that.
And obviously there's some data that will confirm that men are more prone to heart attacks than females because of our hormones. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I'm over the age of 40. Thirdly, I'm Indian. Now, I was like, how the hell is that fetching? But apparently, Indians have weaker arteries. Asian men have weaker arteries. So I've got weaker arteries than you, man.
That's mad. You never.
At least you're stronger than me at something, right?
How dare you? Let's have a game of football.
Okay, fine. Yeah, maybe.
Not rugby.
But yeah, so it was like a bit of I think he phrased it as the perfect storm. The anxiety attack that I'd had the night before, which he believes I genuinely did have.
Oh, so they think it was actually anxiety.
Yeah, that kind of,
Because I was thinking, did the heart attack already start and you had it all night?
yeah, that's what he reckons happened. Around about midnight was when it started, when I had that Apple Watch thing.
Oh yeah, have you got that photo?
Yeah, I've got that photo. I'm keeping that photo.
Yeah, yeah. That's crazy.
We'll chuck it on the podcast.
Oh yeah, we can put it on the screen.
And it was, I guess it was like, I had the panic attack, and then he said that I'd basically, when you have a panic attack or an anxiety attack, it messes with the electronic rhythm of your heart. So he said that was part one of the perfect storm. Part two was the trauma to your head.
Oh, yeah.
So when I collapsed and knocked myself out, I kind of forgot about this. I've always focused on this. I'm now worried, shit, have I got like a bleed on the brain or something? Do you know what I mean? And all this kind of stuff. So, because I'd had a CT scan and they hadn't told me, I was all out there, but they hadn't told me, but it was just a subgalliomatoma, which is essentially a bleed outside of your skull, not internal. So they're like, you don't have anything to worry about there. But I was like, I literally had like a tennis ball, mate. Jeez. Lump on the back of my head.
See, we didn't really talk about that.
No, we kind of forgot about that. But this, and I'm lying on the bed like this the whole time in ICU. My neck is screwed because I'm kind of alleviate the pressure and strain on the side of my head, as well as the sort of think about the shit that went on inside me. So, he said that it was kind of a combination of three things: the fact that I had an anxiety attack, the trauma to my head, and then last but not least, obviously having weak arteries, I had a catastrophic collapse of my arteries.
So you basically said it was going to happen at some point anyway.
Yeah.
Regardless if you look after yourself or whatever you do.
I feel really hard done by.
That's mad, yeah.
I feel like I should have like a hall pass for like a cocaine, strippers, alcohol,
Yeah, you should
cigars.
have done it all. It's going to happen anyway.
I'm owed one, right? Because like I've had the kind of downside, I've had the consequences, but I haven't had the fun.
Yeah.
I haven't had the stuff that I could have got away with if do you know what I mean?
If only
I feel
you'd
really
known.
hard done by.
If only you would have known.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things, the perfect storm. So
Mad.
But he said because I was, he said to me, he said that you were lucky on multiple fronts. If you hadn't have come down from your bedroom to go to the spa, you would have collapsed in your bedroom and no one would have found you.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So I would have just
Your friends would have probably knocked like just
thought
before
I
the
was
flight,
asleep
but that would have been.
and then by then I'd have been gone, man. And then obviously collapsing downstairs in a spa where there was people around. And then obviously last but not least, having the goat of the surgeon.
For Jordan, art surgeon.
The Michael Jordan, the surgeons to look after me.
Well, you think about all those things.
Mate, it's like, you know,
That's mad.
Even my mum said to me, she was like, you're like someone's looking over you.
Yeah.
And I almost think back to that. You remember that shiver?
Yeah.
Shudder. Was that somebody?
That's
keeping an
terrifying.
eye on
That
me?
is the shudder. That's probably the scariest part of it all.
It was like a proper shudder as well. Like inside my body, like somebody like
This is not right.
shook my soul.
Yeah.
And I genuinely feel that someone had their eye over me, you know. But at that moment, it messed me up. You know, the days following, I was trying to put a brave face on it,
Yeah.
and I had to because I can't. What am I supposed to do? Go from my mobile and go like, "Hey, bro, hope you're doing good, man. And just by the way, I just had a heart attack. Just on it. Cheers, man. Take it easy.
Just
bye."
to let you know.
It's not something you advertise. How do you communicate that to people? And this is going to sound silly, but I actually felt embarrassed. I had a heart attack.
I think it's because of what you do for a job and the way that people view you as super fit. Like you said, you're the last person you'd think would have one. I think that's why you felt like that.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
I remember feeling an immense amount of embarrassment.
That's
I didn't
right.
want to tell people. I didn't want people to know. So I actively told my friends that don't tell anyone, please don't tell anyone, please don't tell anyone. Because I didn't want, number one, I didn't want everyone asking me questions or messaging me.
Yeah, get that.
And number two, I don't know how I wanted to communicate it or whether I wanted anyone to know anyway. So I didn't tell anyone. And
Did you check-ins?
I'm sure this video is probably going to be the first people will be aware of it.
Some of your clients have got the check-in and be like, no wonder you gave me extra carbs that week.
Do you know, one of my clients messaged me because I put a story up. I do the Q&As on my stories, right, every now and then. And someone had put on there that I know from the gym had put on saying, oh my God, bro, someone mentioned that you'd had a heart attack. Like, are you okay? So I replied saying,
This is quite recent, though, isn't it?
yeah, literally
Yeah.
like a few days ago, or a week or so ago, maybe, about a week to 10 days ago. I remember leaving that question unanswered for quite some time. And I was like, I don't know whether I want to answer that question publicly. Do I just send it to him?
So no one publicly knew until
No.
literally
Yeah.
whenever that was.
But I decided, you know what, as part of my process to accept what's happened, because it proper messed me up, was I'm going to vocalize that, yes, I did have a heart attack. I'm going to own that shit. And then I'm going to do this, which I spoke to you about the next
Yeah.
day and said, that, can we do this?
I was going to say, because we would originally plan to just film every other month, we just film normal content, don't we? And then,
we'd
so
film-
you've only decided to even do this in the last week or so.
Yeah. And I've got to admit, I've been super anxious about it. I've been really worried about it, about how I share that. It's quite a vulnerable piece.
Yeah.
It's quite personal to me. It's obviously exposing a lot of what happened in probably the most scariest,
Definitely.
few days of my life, really. And I thought, do you know what, I'm going to get out there. So this is raw.
Yeah.
This is going to be the first time people hear it.
And how does that make you feel?
Shit myself, mate. Do you know what I mean? I was proper, like...
So in your head, like, what's the negative side of putting this out there?
I think for me, it's the embarrassment and actually coming to terms with the fact that happened. Because I went through, obviously, when it happened in ICU at my friend Jamie's house, then eventually getting back here, I was just on my own a lot. And that's a really dangerous place to be, alone with your thoughts.
At a bad time as well.
Yeah. And, I'm not working. I'm, worried about finances, worried about whether I'm ever going to be able to do my job again, and whether I'm going to be able to get back to where I was. I felt invincible, mate, before that happened. And it was a fucking shock. Like, it brought me back down to earth with a fucking thump. And it messed me up, and I was really in a dark place.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, I haven't shared with anyone that I've had a heart attack, so no one really knows.
Oh, yeah, so they're just like, what's wrong with D?
No one, I'm not talking to anyone. I kind of just became insular, stayed in these four walls.
And did anybody, were people going, what's wrong with you? What?
No one really kind of reached out because they didn't know. There's nothing to reach
Yeah.
out for.
No, but I mean, did they think that you were just like not speaking to them, or did you ever get any of that?
No, it's kind of surreal. No one really kind of... I guess they didn't know, so they're not
Yeah, they'd
gonna
be
ask.
there if they knew.
Yeah. And then, so now we're now, Christmas? The week of Christmas, like?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so was that the week before Christmas, actually?
no, it happened the 21st of November.
Oh, yeah, sorry, no, yeah,
So
yeah.
now I've got back, it's now Christmas, or the week of Christmas, and you won't believe this, mate, but Hunter, my dog, my chocolate lab, I was upstairs in bed, and it's like 5 a.m. I heard like the dog screaming downstairs, like a horrible sound. Like, I was like, oh my God, I jumped up, I came downstairs, and he was screaming in pain on the floor. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And I had to phone the emergency vet.
Yeah.
took him to the vet. It was a Saturday morning. Took him to the emergency vet on Saturday morning. And they were like, we think he might have a tumor or something on his neck. Something pinching the neck. And because his legs were going all weird. I was like, oh my God, they're going to have to put him down. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't take this. Mate, I was a fucking mess. Like, that dog is my life, you know? And I'm like, I remember having to carry him out because I couldn't drive. I had to get a taxi. So I remember having to carry a 40-kilo.
You couldn't drive because of the up on it?
Because of my operation.
Oh, God.
And actually, my car was in the garage, the services, when I flew out to Dubai.
Yeah.
And so it was still there because I hadn't got to pick it up.
Wow.
So it was still there. So I didn't have a car. And I had to get a taxi and I had to carry him. He's 42 kilos to my vet from the car. And I've just had a heart attack.
You're just like, give me a break.
Mate, I couldn't, I was in autopilot. I wasn't thinking. I was worried about Hunter. And they took him in. They were like, we need to get an MRI of his neck done and his spine and stuff. And I was like, this is it. Like, he's like 12, 13 years old. I was like, I can't take this. They're going to have to put him down. Like, that's all I could think. Now, the good news is they kept him in. He was operated on Christmas Eve.
Oh, my God.
And he's got like a massive scar from his chin down to his belly button, bless him. But he's fine. It was something to do with the disc in his neck. It was like damaged and it had been like that for some time.
Yeah.
And they managed to clean it all out and move it away. And he's like a puppy again.
I was going to say, he's been all right today with me.
He's fine. So I had that to deal with over Christmas on top of everything else. As you can imagine, being in his house with two poorly pups, you know what I mean? And just feeling pretty lonely and shit.
At Christmas as well. I know that shouldn't factor in. You don't want to feel like, oh, everyone else is having fun, but I'm not. But you must have felt it more at that time of year.
It was just really dark.
Yeah.
It was pretty shit, you know? And coming back to that piece about me not wanting to be a burden on people, I've never, ever shared my shit. Like, in my friendship circle, I've always been the big brother.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the oldest. So all my boys always come to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one who will always look out for everyone. And I love that. I love that my friends think of me as someone they can go to for advice, whether it be personal, whether it be like relationship, whether it be, you know, life, whatever it is. I want them to feel comfortable coming to me. Like, I want to be that person for my friends. And over the years, when my friends have broken up with their partners, they need someone who's crashed, they need to borrow money, but you know, they need guidance, advice. I've always been there for them, and I've always am, and I would never want that to be something that they couldn't think. Now, I never want my friends to think, you know, shit, he's got his own shit going on. Mm-hmm. Don't want to bother him because, God forbid, something would happen. And recently, one of my close friends, who's no longer with us, took his own life. And I still think back now, like, you know, you always think, what could I have done? What more could I have done for him to help him in a situation where he felt that he was so in such a bad place that he had no other option. So I took that quite hard because I always wanted to be there for all of my friends. So why did he feel that he couldn't come to me?
Yeah.
Like, what did I do wrong? Did I not make myself available? So in this particular environment, this situation, even though I've had a heart attack, I didn't want my friends to know. I wanted them to still be able to come to me.
Yeah, that was still in your
because
mind.
God forbid they go, fucking hell, don't bother D, he's got his own shit going on. So I didn't. That's probably why I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to be unavailable.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the burden.
So even some of your closest friends didn't even know at this point. That's wild.
No, even now, some of my
Oh,
close,
so they'll watch this.
this will be probably the first time they hear it. I don't know whether others have mentioned to others, but they haven't reached out. So I expect.
And do you? So, like, interesting question there. Do you regret not going to them, or you still stand by? That's what I wanted to do. That's the right thing to do. Because I think I'd be the same. By the way.
Do I think, would I have done things differently? No.
There you go then.
Because, I don't know if this is a word, but I'm a looker afterer.
I don't think it is, but we'll go with it. I know what you mean.
It's important for me to look after people. I'm not great at being looked after.
Yeah.
You know?
So you think, even though you felt it was a dark time and you felt shit, that potentially would have made it even worse for you mentally.
Yeah, if everyone was like,
Yeah.
oh, you're right, no, let me check out. I would have felt really uncomfortable because I would have felt a burden on them.
Yeah.
They're having to put things in their life on hold. They're having to make sacrifices, not go to work, not do social things to come and check on me.
That would mess you up more, probably.
That would have messed me up more. Well, who the fuck am I to take away their hard-earned social time, their time with their family, their friends after working already hard all week, coming to check on me?
I get that.
That might sound stupid, but that would have hurt me more being a burden on someone else.
And now you've decided to talk about it because you feel you're at a point now where you're not a burden anymore. It's just...
No, because I think now I've had the all clear and I'm back to training twice a day. I'm back to my routine, and I've set myself the task of getting in the best possible shape of my life this year, because why should I not? Why, I work with a lot of clients that have gone through heart attacks or had, medical conditions, et cetera, and I'm a strong believer that doesn't change, that doesn't give you a disadvantage. It's you work with what you've got, and I'm really proud that I'm going to be in a position where I'm able, to use my experience, my knowledge, and the fact that I'm still here, I'm alive.
I guess you were thinking about it before. You thought you were invincible, so it was something to be embarrassed about. But now, on reflection, do you think actually it saved my life that I was in fit, healthy condition?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Flips. We call him the GOAT. Dr. Hussein. Just
I want to meet him.
Yeah. He said to me, you know what? If you weren't as fit as you are now, you wouldn't be here, because I couldn't have got to your heart as quickly as I needed to. And the recovery rate. When I was in hospital, because I keep remembering bits, but I had an echogram, which is essentially a picture of your heart. And they had an echogram, and during the echogram, there was, I don't remember the terminology, I'm not a doctor, but there was some damage to my heart, and there was some movement or something that was unusual. And he said, look, this is as a result of the lack of oxygen when you had your heart attack to your heart. So and I was like, oh wow, okay, shit, so my heart's damaged. He said, yeah, but because you're so healthy, I expect that to heal within a month or so. That will all get back to normal. I'm confident, because we're getting good flow, good blood to the area. I then had another echogram a few days later. I don't know whether it was 2 or 3 days later. I remember she was pregnant, her name was Priya. And she goes, look at the screen. And I was like, what am I looking at? Just a black and white, black blobs and stuff, and bits moving. And I guess that's what happens when people look at, when they go to have their baby scan.
I thought you could see a baby.
You're like, yeah, I can see it. No, you can't. But there was moving past, and she's like, look, it's really good. I was like, is it? I don't know what I'm looking at. And she said, yeah, do you know the other day when you had your echogram, we said there was, this wasn't moving, this part or whatever? She goes, all working fine now. I was like, that was only a few days ago. She goes, yeah, that just shows
that's mad.
Being healthy, the recovery has been super quick.
Yeah.
So whichever parts of our heart, I'm not even going to try and, use the words that she used. I don't remember. But she pointed out a bit that wasn't working, and then obviously a few days later it was working. So I was like, oh, great. Maybe this whole fitness and being healthy thing, it actually works. It's worth it, right?
Yeah, so now you can probably think about it and think, I'm not embarrassed about it anymore. I'm actually grateful and proud that I was in good shape, because otherwise...
If anything, I want to be even healthier.
Yeah.
So it's motivated me to make this year about, getting back to where I was, if not even better, but now being mindful of some of the restraints.
I was going to say, before we get into what you're going to do, what has it changed for you?
First of all, obviously, I now have some hurdles I need to overcome with regards to my mind. I have to overcome, I guess, a bit like, when you hurt your ankle, you hurt your ankle playing football, didn't you? And then when you had to go back playing football, do you protect your ankle a bit? Yeah,
it changed the way, sounds stupid, but when I was running down the wing, normally I would have just full speed, just crossed it.
Yeah.
And I remember the first game back, I was running down the wing, and I was like, just cross the ball down, just cross. But that would mean that all my weight would be on that one ankle at full speed, and I just let the ball run out of play, and everyone was looking at me like, what the hell?
It does change.
But with your heart, it must be 10 times worse, but it was in my mind,
I remember the first time I got on the treadmill at the gym, went in and I walked and I didn't want to go treadmill, and I'm only going to do an uphill walk.
Yeah.
And I remember getting on, I started pressing the kilometers an hour plus button. And as I was pressing it, it's like my brain was telling my finger to press the button, and my finger wasn't pressing the button. And it was like this delay.
You didn't want to go fast, just in case.
Yeah. And I didn't know why. I was like...
I know why.
But I felt fine. So, it's changed the way, and I'm still overcoming those things. And this is as I said to you, this is another reason for me to do this, to vocalize what I went through, expel some of those things that are in my mind, put it out here on tape.
Do you think it's more mental than physical at this point?
100%.
That's great.
I think right now, physically, I feel fine. Now, don't get me wrong, even last night, I said to you when you arrived, I was like, I had pain in my heart. I was like, shit, this is it, you know?
Always gonna
It's
think like that.
And it was muscular, you know? And 6 months ago, if I had the same pen, I'd be like, oh, yeah, what's that?
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh shit, what's this? Is something wrong? Is it the stents? But it's just a case of now overcoming. And I have some things I have to work through, and I'm okay with that. And I'm working towards that. And I'm training twice again now. I'm back in the mornings doing cardio. I'm back in the evenings doing my weights. I'm back eating right.
What was that first weight training session like?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Week. I was like, shit. I couldn't do anything above the head because
Yeah.
I had to wait for the stents to bed in. And
Is it scary though?
yeah. I think the scariest thing is I was like proper butthurt about the fact that I couldn't lift the weights I was lifting before. I was like, shit, this is what my
What happened
clients...
to my life?
Yeah. I can now, you know, when my clients say to me that they're weak, they're feeling weaker, I can resonate now. I can feel that. But it was amazing how that strength came back.
Quickly,
Yeah, and I'm essentially back to lifting the heavier weights I was. Not
What?
stupid, but getting back into my routine. My diet is supporting that.
There's
So-
90 days after a heart attack, you're stronger you were before.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's mad.
And do you know what? I'm more conscious of some of the supplementation I take. I'm lucky enough to be working with the likes of Chemical Warfare Nutrition, who have got some fantastic supplements that support, you know, your heart.
Yeah.
Pulsate, one of them. It's a really great stack of vitamins that support your heart. They do others as well, but I'm now consciously taking that as a product to help. I'm more aware.
Yeah.
And I think that's, if anything, that's brought that to my attention. So yeah, I guess it's a different approach,
Yeah.
a bit like you running down the wing, but you you adopt a different kind of process, don't you, and overcome it.
So you say you want to get in the best shape ever this year. What's the plan?
I've put some pressure on myself now, haven't I?
It's on camera. It's on 2 cameras.
Shit, yeah. It's just really a case of getting back to my best. You know, I'm at my best when I'm structured. I'm in a routine. I'm quite militarian. So getting that structure back has been really crucial to helping me with my mindset. So now I'm back into cardio, weights, eating right, routine, waking up at a set time, going to bed at a set time, not just having nothing to do.
Yeah.
How do people do it?
Don't
How
ask
do
me.
people just like sit around doing fuck all day?
Not a clue. I'd like to give it a go though.
I would go insane. I remember being at Maria and James's house in Dubai, and they were going about their routine structure. Maria was at home most days because she was a little unwell as well. And so she and I were like going insane, like what we're going mad. And Maria works really hard,
Yeah.
and so she was having some time off work for various reasons, and she was as well. She was like, "I'm going mad. What do we do?" And I don't know how people could do that.
Yeah, I always say like, because I literally work 7 days a week. I always say I'd love a little break.
Maybe Sunday.
It could only be
Today's Sunday.
It could only be for a certain amount of time before. Yeah, like you say, I think I'd be.
I just don't think I could ever do
crazy.
it. I'm just not wired that way. I don't know how people don't have a structure. So that military approach and getting back into routine and structure has been essentially a savior for me, because it means I'm now back into what I'm most comfortable doing, which is getting up at a set time of day, doing my morning cardio, doing my food prep, working all day, training in the evening, and then
So you're back in your routine, but is it changed your routine at all? Are you eating differently? Are you training differently?
I've changed my approach to my nutrition ever so slightly to kind of, obviously, while I was in a recovery phase.
Yeah.
So I had to change my nutrition. Obviously, I didn't want to be in a calorie deficit. When your body needs
Yeah.
fuel, you need food to fuel. You need fuel to be able to heal. So my approach to my nutrition was different through this period. I'm looking a little bit softer around the jaws.
I can't
So-
tell, to be honest. I'm not just joking. Seriously.
But, you know, I've got a plan in place. And come this summer, your question was, what does getting in the best shape of your life look like? Basically, getting back to my best, back to how
Yeah.
I was, you know. So come summer, I've given myself a target of getting in decent nick, and we'll...
Well, you've been in different, like you've been sport fit, like
Yeah.
rugby. You've competed. I mean, you bodybuilding. So which version is it? Is it like in the middle of that? Is it?
I think it's going to be aesthetic. It's going
Yeah.
to be basically healthy and you know, and comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm never going to compete again.
Yeah.
You know, it's too much of a toll on my body now. And actually, do you know what? I've gone past the point of enjoying it. I loved it when I did it, but I'm on to different things now. I'm here. I get more reward from helping other people achieve their goals with their you know, body transformations and their lifestyle fitness. So it's probably going to be a photo shoot. You know, because I always like.
I always think that's a good idea.
Yeah, naturally, and you'll no doubt see the journey as well. That's kind of the aim. I want to get back to feeling comfortable, feeling fit. You know, consciously focusing on my heart health and my cardiovascular health. So we'll be working towards that as well. So yeah, that's kind of the approach for the next few months.
And what about, so if there's people watching, there's probably people watching this that maybe just had a heart attack or gone through some sort of health crisis, what would you, from what you've learned, what would you tell them?
Probably not to listen to your thoughts,
Okay, explain that.
because my head was telling me, that's it.
Okay.
This is me old now. I can't do what I used to do.
Yeah.
You've got to challenge that process because, okay, I'm lucky. You know, I've used that word a lot. You know, I don't like the word lucky because normally you make your own luck. But in this instance, I feel lucky and privileged, probably is a better word, to be in the position I'm in. I could have been in a far worse position. I might not be able to speak. I might not be able to move.
Yeah.
Some people suffer some quite severe, you know, things that happen to them after a heart attack.
Yeah.
Really, I'm quite lucky on two fronts. I earned that luck by being healthy initially. Okay. So my first thing is for people out there, take care of yourself, get yourself doing cardio, change that lifestyle, get into a routine where you are looking after yourself.
So you believe that anyway, but that's reinforced even more now.
100%. Yeah. Because if I wasn't as healthy and as fit as I was, that same heart attack would have a very different outcome. You and I would not be sat here today. It'd be a pretty shit podcast just talking to yourself. Right? So, and I joke, but I have to find the humor in it, right? The second side of it is, if this has happened to you, if you've been through a heart attack, if you've been through a medical episode, remember that you control what happens next. Okay? How you now move forward beyond that, how you get yourself fit, how you eat, how you move, how you sleep, how you rest, recover is totally down to you. And actually, that's the parts I control, and that's what I'm now changing. So I would say if you've gone through an episode like this, get back to the basics. Get moving. I'm not saying go out there and start running a marathon, but fucking get walking, you know, get up at a set time. If you're a smoker, cut down, stop smoking, stop drinking as much alcohol. You know what I mean? These are all the things that we all know. Right?
The crazy part is basically after you've had a heart attack, it's do what you should be doing before you've had a heart attack, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. You know, and we all know these things, but we all think we're invincible. And I'm telling you now, I thought I was fucking invincible. We're not.